to Blissfully Aware, the show in which me and my friends discuss what's going on in fandom and nerd news in general. I'm Bliss, and as always, I'm joined by my lovely co-host, JD. Hi, JD.
Hi.
How are you?
You know, I got a little bit of a cold, so if I sound stuffy, it's because I am stuffy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Thank you for braving it and joining us this week.
Fortunately, I don't have any laryngitis, so all I have to contend with is a stuffy nose.
I think we'll survive a little bit of the sniffles.
Yeah, totally.
The question is, will you survive the sniffles?
I don't know. Oh no. I did work all day today though, so, you know, if I can survive work, I can survive thinking about disappointing people on the internet.
Let's get into it. JD, this week I want to talk about some bad takes I found online.
I love bad takes. Bad takes are what life is all about.
Bad takes fuel me, much like spite.
Like every time I was reading a bad take today, I thought about, I was like, I really enjoy watching this person have this bad take. And I wonder what my therapist would think about that. And then you'll never guess what happened. I was at work and my therapist came into my job today. And I had to think about that. And I was like, oh God, she almost caught me on my phone. Had I been on my break when she walked in, I would have been doing the bad thing that we talk about in therapy.
Shame.
But if I didn't do the bad thing, we wouldn't have anything to talk about on this podcast. What are we talking about? What did you see today?
So, I feel like this one deserves more than just an explanation. Because it's gonna get an explanation, don't get me wrong. But this tweet took me down a journey. Just an emotional journey.
I'm so excited.
Gave me some flashbacks to old Tumblr days.
Oh, great. You're like, you're sitting there with the 2,000 yard stare.
I am. It was, yeah, this tweet thread, to be more specific. So, would you care to join me in a dramatic reading of said tweet thread?
I would love to join you in a dramatic reading of said tweet thread.
Would you like to be blue or red?
Ooh, let's, you know what? I'm gonna be blue.
Okay, then you start.
All right. Obviously, this is out of context, so there's, they're responding to something. Kinda? We're regressing on sexism issues and LGBT issues.
Sex positivity is good, actually.
Not with fictional characters.
Why?
Because they don't have agency.
When two characters have sex in a story, do you consider that sexual coercion? Because they're being forced by the writer?
Unironically, yes. Unless you are writing something based on your own personal experience and your fictional character is a fictionalized version of yourself, then yes, I see it that way.
And I died.
And, as I understand it, this screenshot has been kind of floating around for a little bit. Like, this isn't super new, but it's new to me. I've never seen it before.
Oh, me neither. Bless both these people wherever they are. I hope they're having fantastic days, because they certainly made my day when I saw this.
Yeah.
But so, JD, do you think that characters having sex in a story is sexual coercion? I feel like I know the answer, but
as a writer, I would be like, imagine, all right, so how this presents to me is like I imagine myself, because I can't help but create like a vision in my mind of how this happens. I have that, in the Twilight Zone episode, there's a Twilight Zone episode where a guy, if he describes a character well enough on this magical tape recorder, they become real, right? Mm-hmm. So, like, we learn that his wife is like yeah, that's the twist, is that his wife is one of these recordings, and like she gets jealous of this other recording that he's having an affair with or whatever. Um but he can just speak things into existence. So I'm just imagining that I go down into this dingy basement with like a cell, and I speak into this magical Twilight Zone recorder, and they pop into existence in the cell, and I've described them as being lusty for one another. And like, if I described, ABO dynamics well enough, it would become reality, and these people would have like nasty, disturbing sex, and they would not be able to not have that sex because I forced them to do it. Like and like when they were done being lusty for each other because I had described them as being lusty for each other, and they were like, "Oh, wait, we're in this cell. We have to get out." I would be like, "No, you have to fuck more."
Mm-hmm.
Like, or else
Mm-hmm.
I burn your recordings, and then I re-record with this magical recorder so that, when you come back, you have to fuck again.
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's, I mean, they would have to be popping into reality, like they would have to be real people for me to coerce them. So, like that's how I'm imagining this ideal, where it's like, oh, you've created these people with their own personalities and their own independent thought, and you're forcing them to have sex without their consent because they can't consent because they're not people. They don't have autonomy.
Mm-hmm.
So like this is very pro-life of them. And I say that because I don't think fetuses are real.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not that they're not real, it's just that they're not people. So if they don't have autonomy, they cannot make decisions. They can't tell you how they're feeling because they're not feeling. They just are. A fetus is more real than a fictional character.
Mm-hmm.
A fetus actually technically exists. It just doesn't exist independently. So like, and I am not pro-life, I am pro-choice, and I am very, very, very pro-choice in my fiction. Like, I can do whatever I want to these things that I have created from my mind. Like, is it coercive? No, you can't coerce something that has no independent thought. There's no such thing as coercing a thing that can't be coerced. You have to have independent thoughts before you can be coerced into something.
Yeah, that's my thought too, but I want to play devil's advocate. I wish I could, like, play a better devil's advocate. But say I believe these characters are real people that I spoke into life with my tape recorder.
Okay.
Is me having them act out scenarios, even though they're still fictional characters because I created them, and they're not like real human beings that were like created out of another human being.
Right, right. These are like magical tape recorder people.
Yeah, these are magical fictional people that are semi-real, which is what aunties perceive fictional characters to be.
Yeah.
With their own sets of rights and what have yous. Is it coercion to make them fuck?
If they were real people?
If they were magic tape recorder people.
So I think that's the true issue with the Twilight Zone episode, is that like the main character's actions are unethical. Because even though he designed and created his own wife, he takes the authority to make or unmake whoever he wants for his own ends. So not only his wife, who was made to be his wife, right? She has one function, and he made her to be his wife. And when she starts having independent thought, and when she starts being jealous of him having an affair with this woman named Mary, who he has also created to be his wife, or well, his girlfriend, when she started getting independent thought, he was like, "Hey, I made you, I can unmake you." And he does. And he designs the next time cuz he's been making and unmaking Mary the whole time because, she has to be able to escape when his wife comes home. So, but eventually she's like, I don't want to be made again. If you unmake me, don't make me again. Well, when he makes her again, he makes her his wife because he just unmade his wife. His actions are unethical. But
Mhm.
that's the idea behind the Twilight Zone episode, is that they are real because he spoke them into existence. Real existence, tangible existence. Other people see them, hear them, feel them. They can have independent thought. They can change as people. They can be dynamic people. Unfortunately, for aunties, no character that exists on paper is ever going to be capable of capable of defying your expectations of them. Like, yeah, authors will say all the time, like, oh, yeah, this character didn't want to do this, and this character didn't want to do this, and, like, I had to force this character to do this. But that's just because you're a writer and, you have an unhealthy attachment to your intellectual property.
I never liked when writers did that. I hated it. I'm like, you're writing them.
Yeah, like you have an unhealthy attachment to your intellectual property. Like, a lot of times it's easier to watch what a character does. Like if you don't just, like, you can come up with a plot and everything, but that doesn't necessarily mean that the character in character is going to follow it. So just follow the character.
Mhm.
It's not that hard. It's like, just, you're the writer, just wheel the camera around. You're just the cameraman, okay? Like, wheel the camera around. That's all you have to do.
Mhm.
Um, and I say this as a writer. So there's no possible way that you can be unethical to a character. Like, if I were to write a character, let's call him Doug. Okay, so we have a character Doug, and he's got brown hair, he's got hazel eyes, he's like 5'6". He's a good build. He was a basketball player in high school. He's about 26 now. He's got a job as an accountant. He's pretty successful. He's got a wife named Anna, and he's doing pretty well for himself. Doug now exists in our collective conscience. I magically made him exist for you, like you can imagine, Doug. But then, if I never mention Doug ever again, is he dead? Or is he just helplessly floating in a liminal space because he was created, but then he never did anything? Like, is that ethical or is that unethical to create a character and then abandon them?
Hmm.
I mean, if we're really thinking about this, every single character that has ever been created, who has been shared in a collective consciousness, whether it's you tell them to your friend, or you don't even have to tell them to anyone. You could just literally just write them down in a journal, and they're in the liminal space of your mind, and then you just totally forget about them, and now they're existing in a liminal space. And is that ethical? Where, like, if we're thinking in terms of, like, Inside Out, okay? With what's the imaginary friend's name from Inside Out?
Bing bong.
Bing Bong. So Bing Bong lives in a liminal space. He was created when Riley, who is also a fake character, so Riley is also living in a liminal space in your head, and he dies. Spoiler alert: he dies by being forgotten, and, like, in Inside Out, the forgotten, is like a physical thing. Like, he falls down into this forgotten realm thing, um and he dies, literally, just, he's gone forever.
Mhm.
And you know what, as a note here, I'm looking at a picture of him. He has 5 fingers, and that just kind of creeps me out. but like the whole is Riley a bad person for having created an imaginary character in her head, an imaginary friend, and then stashed him away in her thoughts to roam around and be useless forever?
Yes.
Is Riley a bad person? Yes. Yes. Yeah, apparently, yes. Like, even though Riley was a toddler when she made this imaginary friend, he has, if she described him, oh, he's like a pink elephant. He looks like a homeless man mixed with a clown. And he has a raccoon tail, and he wears a bowler hat. Like, he exists now, and then he's trapped in obscurity forever, even though he doesn't technically exist. He is completely make believe. Is it unethical to create a character and then do nothing with them?
I mean, if it was, I'd be in jail how many times over for creating OCs and then just doing nothing with them, not even telling people about them.
Could it be said, all right, here's another one for you. Here's another quandary for you. So if aunties believe that it's coercion to force ships or whatever that means, and to write these characters into scenarios because it's coercion, all right. Uh and if I come up with this idea that, okay, well, if you create a character, and if we're thinking of ethics, and you put them in a liminal space and now they exist and they have no purpose, is that unethical? And we say yes, that's unethical. Would having a child be unethical just inherently?
Ooh, the big questions.
Yeah, because theoretically, you're bringing a child into this world who did not ask to be born. That child did not give you consent to bring it into this world. You were not able to ask the soul of the child if they consented to be brought to earth, from wherever they come from, or if you stitch them together, they get knitted. I don't know where souls come from, whether they're created or if they're. But if we're talking about, like, oh, if you create a fictional person, you're unethical because this creation of this person is unethical, uh, because they can't consent, then the creation of a real person is unethical because they can't consent.
I like that.
The
I like
the
that a lot.
devil has an advocate, it is me. Like, like, it is me. Hail Satan. Like, so none of these aunties should be ever having children.
No, despite how pro-life they may be. Because let me tell you something. I have read some very... This is a separate tangent that I'm suddenly going on. Follow me.
I'm ready.
I have read some very wholesome fic. Some incredibly ooh-woo wholesome fic. And it usually ends up being Omegaverse. Don't know why that's where the wholesome fic lives.
Are you just reading my fics? Because my fics are ridiculously wholesome.
I mean, your fics are very wholesome. Don't get me wrong.
They're unbelievably wholesome. Like, considering me, myself, and my fics are ridiculously wholesome.
But you know what I don't see enough of in Omegaverse fics? If at all. I think I've seen it like one time.
Abortion?
Abortion.
Nice.
I want more abortion in Omegaverse.
Yeah, Omegaverse fics are almost inherently pro-life.
They really are.
Yeah, they're designed to be because it's about breeding kink.
I get that. But I want my breeding kink where you breed me and then I yeet it.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm trying to think if I have any fics where like birth control is used. I know there are condoms. I have condoms in at least one story. At least one story. There might be two. There might be two stories where I have condoms. And I think I have the pull out method in a couple,
Mhm.
But
The safest way to have sex.
oh right, yes, yeah, the absolute safest. You know, like people are like, "Oh, you took out the goalie." No, I stopped shooting into the stands. So yeah, it's true. Omegaverse almost never has abortion in it. I should do that one day. I should make a wholesome abortion fic.
I want some Shinzo Denki abortion Omegaverse fic
I'm not doing that.
right
I'm not,
now.
I'm not doing that.
Somebody give me that.
Yeah, somebody else could do that. I'm not doing that. That might be too much for me.
Bliss has needs. But anyway, back to the topic. The reason I just had like the worst flashbacks reading this tweet thread, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was because of good old Tumblr days in which somebody, JD, earnestly, 100% sincerely asked me if they were to have sex with a chair, where would the consent come from?
I wait. My my brethren in Christ, run that by me again.
If you were gonna have sex with a chair, because that was on your to-do list.
Yes, yeah.
You couldn't do it without consent, of course. So where would the consent come from?
Like if you didn't want to do it without consent?
No, you did want to do it with consent.
Okay, yeah. So,
you met this fine, upstanding chair, you wanted to bed them, but obviously you wanted the chair's consent. How would you get it?
Why is this a question? This is
I don't know, but it haunts
this is
me.
like okay, but like is okay. All right, let's play this game again. Okay, a chair, right, is not made for that purpose. Okay, but let's say a dildo is. Okay, because it is. You still can't ask a dildo for consent. You would just be under the assumption that you could because of the way that it looks, which is much like blaming women for sexual assault because of what they were wearing.
So what you're saying to me is I can never use dildos again.
Yeah, and you certainly can't have sex with a chair because because that's not even there's not even an assumption that could possibly be made there.
And it was my weekend.
Seriously, I'm telling you, like if we're going to the nth degree where you cannot get consent, you know, like all of these fictional characters cannot be manipulated in stories because they cannot give you consent. And you contriving consent by saying that they gave you consent, even though what you say is what they do, right? That's you're coercing them to give consent, so that's not valid, right? If that's the case, then you have to get consent from literally everything in order to do anything. So let's say you have a candle, you have a nice scented candle. You can't burn that candle. Because even though the candle was made with a wick, it cannot give consent for you to light it.
That sucks. Because I have a wax play kink.
Wow. You know,
just my whole weekend is ruined.
You are just piling on these issues. Like if you have a printer, you can't print whatever you want. You can't print something without the printer's consent that the printer would agree with what you're printing. Like what if your printer has religious values and you're printing something that's not in a godly way, you know? What if your printer objects to your sick Omegaverse fan fiction that you're printing out?
For my sexual needs.
Okay, yeah, but it didn't consent to printing it. Well, you're forcing it. You're coercing it to print. your dirty, nasty fan fiction, your ungodly fan fiction. Like, oh my gosh, think about the what this means for video game characters.
Oh God, don't even get me
Literally every
started.
choice that you make is forcing their hand. You've made a character and now you are puppeting them as a puppeteer. That is wrong.
I can't.
Do
I just can't.
these people have pets?
You know what? That's a good question.
Have their pets consented to living in their house?
I did see a tweet the other day that was like, owning a pet is akin to slavery was the general idea.
Wow.
And I was like, dude,
I
you need to
you know
calm
what?
down.
I have words, but these people need to touch grass, or at least big man titty.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah, fucking big man titty indeed.
Yeah. But get consent first.
Always get consent first.
Yeah, from your big man titty.
For your big man titties. So another tweet that happened on my dash today is one that makes me a little more sad but
Okay.
we're still gonna wax poetic about it, aren't we?
Yes.
Because that's what we do on this show. So Twitter user Fang tweeted, "The reason your friends have, quote, secret pro-ship accounts is because they don't feel safe enough around you to tell you. They're literally afraid of what you'll do if you find out." And that's true and all well and good. It's the reaction to that tweet that was what was disturbing.
Yeah.
It was all the goods, or I hope they're afraid of me, or, you know, here's the things I would do to them.
Yeah, I saw a couple that were like, wow, I hope you don't feel safe around me, and like if I find out that any of my moods have a secret pro ship account, I'll do, you know, that they'll like say a violent thing that they would do to them. You know, like
Mhm.
I want to make you afraid and everything like that.
Yeah. And I mean, I know we've talked on this show many times about how there is something wild about the fact that they care about the coercion of fictional characters versus threatening real life people. But JD,
Yeah.
there's something wild about the fact that they care about coercion of fictional characters, but are turning around and willing to threaten real life people that are their friends.
Yeah. I mean that they don't see that as coercion and manipulation through fear is kind of whack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something else.
If you look at like cult mentalities and like the way that cults convert and coerce and, you know, con people, it really is very similar. You know, you design a culture of fear and you enforce it through any means necessary.
100%. It's scary. It's scary that teens are this comfortable lobbing out threats like that. Because if taken seriously, a threat is a felony charge in the United States, which at the very least can land you in juvie if you're, you know, a minor. Because most of these kids turn around and they're like, "Oh, but I'm a minor. Why are you taking what I say seriously?" And it's like, bruh.
So, a little while back, Howard University, a historically black university in the United States, was targeted with a set of bomb threats. Okay?
Mm.
The people responsible for these bomb threats were minors. They were 6 minors. They faced very serious consequences for this because that was a hate crime.
Absolutely.
I mean, I don't think people realize, I don't think minors realize despite the fact that, you're being charged as a minor, you're still being charged. This is going to follow you for the rest of your life. If you do get if this does catch up with you, it can be a really big deal. It can cause you to lose scholarships. It can cause you to lose friends. It can cause you, I mean, who wants to be friends with the person like who degrades people? Who wants to be friends with somebody who they think is going to target them for some harmless thing that they did? There's nobody on earth who wants to be friends with a toxic person. And make no mistake, if you're saying this stuff and you're saying, wow, I really hope these people aren't safe around me, they don't feel safe around me, you are a violent, toxic person, and no one wants to be your friend. The people who are your friends are not your friends. They are also violent, toxic people, and they will turn on you. We call it the snake pit for a reason.
I feel bad for the people out there with the secret pro ship accounts, seeing their friends behave that way and becoming even more afraid, potentially deleting those accounts, potentially falling further into indoctrination, into the little anti cult.
I'm gonna just say that if any aunties with secret pro ship accounts are seeing their friends say shit like that, you should know that those friends are the most likely to have secret pro ship accounts. The squeaky wheel it gets the grease.
Yeah.
The loudest people are usually the most immoral.
Oh, yeah. Do you think, side note, do you think we have any listeners that are secret pro shippers?
I have no idea.
I think that'd be interesting. It's not like we're like a big name podcast or anything. I just think it'd be interesting to know.
Yeah.
Don't reach out and tell me you are. Stay safe.
Yeah,
It's a
stay
wild
safe.
world out there, kids, but I just think it's interesting.
Yeah, like
Um,
it's a really interesting idea, that there's, folks out there who are secret pro shippers. But if I had any advice for secret pro shippers, it would be just reinvent.
mm-hmm. Just get out, reinvent.
Get out and reinvent. Find some pro shippers whose ideology you fit with the best. Because pro shippers are not a monolith.
Mm-hmm.
We know that more than anybody. There's much to be said about the different schisms of pro shippers and how they react to certain things. There's some pro shippers out there who don't believe in, like real person fiction. There's some people who don't believe in this or that or the other thing. I mean, I'm sure there's pro shippers out there who don't believe in all kinds of nonsense. But, you know, they're less likely to come for your throat about it. Sometimes they will, but they're less likely to.
Yeah. No, there's good uns and bad uns in every batch, but find yourself a better group.
Uh-huh.
And there's plenty of pro shippers out there who are very welcoming to ex antes.
Hmm.
There's a whole mini movement.
You just gotta be on the lookout for folks who actually do want to support you. Um, Obviously, there's gonna be bad apples here and there. I haven't run into any people who are looking for vulnerable people to take advantage of. But that's always something to look out for. I
Mm-hmm.
haven't I haven't I haven't seen any of that going on, where it's like, oh, I want to adopt an anti, who has gone the way of the pro shipping, because pro shipping is something that like you can do in a solitary way as
Mm-hmm.
well. Like you don't have to have community for that, because you can get validation from total strangers for your pro shipping. Like if you're into Bakudeku and you had an anti group that was anti Bakudeku, and you decided, you know what, I'm done with your bullshit. This is what I want to ship now. you can get you can get validation from complete and utter strangers who have no idea that you used to be an auntie. Like, you don't have to open up about that. You don't have to be vulnerable to anyone to be part of a pro-ship space. And that's one of the things that I notice a lot with aunties is that they're usually trying to get you to open up about vulnerabilities that you have in order so that you can have excuses to behave how you do. And in pro ship spaces, you really don't need those excuses. And sometimes people say things to aunties that are like, I'm, a victim of this, and this is why I'm allowed to do this. You don't actually have to do that. Like, you can literally just be like, I ship Bakudeku because I damn well want to, and I'm going to do whatever I fucking want to. Like, you can
Hmm.
literally just do that. You don't have to be vulnerable to anyone. You don't have to talk about any of your vulnerabilities. You don't have to talk about your past. You don't have to talk about anything personal. Like, you can literally just go, uh, I want this dick to go in this hole. Done. Explain yourself to no one.
You don't owe anyone that. You don't owe anyone an explanation.
Yeah, like there's so many people out there who want to somehow justify what they ship, and it'll be like the most just plain boring ass ship of all time. Like, and I will literally say that there are some incest ships that are really fucking boring. Like I have one. I have my one incest ship is the dodos from Animal Crossing. Wholesome, boring.
Hmm.
Like, just, there's no tension there. Why would there be? They love each other. They're brothers. There's no tension in they have no storyline. They literally are just characters that exist in a franchise.
There's certainly no knives in Vash.
Yeah, they're not, they're not some plant cest. They're not, enemies that are also brothers and da 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 da, like impregnation of things by whatever. So, um, so, you know, what's my excuse for wanting to write incest omegaverse of the dodos from Animal Crossing? I don't have one. They're boring, and I don't need one. Like, I don't have there's no trauma in my background that like forces me to think about brothers fucking on a deserted island and having an egg together. Like, there is nothing in my life that would like rationalize or justify writing this story. So if I don't have to have it, you don't have to have it. Believe me, just tell people I want to. End of story. And if they're gonna send you death threats about that, fuck them, block them, get rid of them. If they're sending you, if they're doxing you, call the cops. Like, I mean, I'm literally go after their asses, cause it's none of their business.
Do you know what I need, JD?
What do you need?
I need the brothers from Animal Crossing, the dodos, to an abort an egg.
Okay, you know what? I have you covered because
Oh,
you know
really?
what? I do that in the fic.
Hell yeah!
Yeah, yeah. Read my Animal Crossing fic with them because they do abort the egg.
Fuck yeah.
I tag it as eggicide. Yeah, I call it eggicide instead of abortion because they're not really like aborting the egg.
Hmm.
Like, it's not abortion. It's like he lays an egg and they don't let it hatch. He drops it into the sea.
They scrambled that motherfucker.
Pretty much, yeah. And it's kind of sad, because it's like, oh, okay, they have this magical time together. And by magical, I mean like this hot, sweaty time together. And then, they're like, oh, what if we don't want things to go back the way they used to be and blah, blah, blah. And like, I love you and da, 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 da. But they can't keep this egg because, it would be
Hmm.
the product of incest. Although somebody said something in the comments that were like, wow, I really wish I could have kept the egg. And I was like, I didn't want to open that can of worms. Um, but also, like, if we're going by foul rules. Like you can inbreed like all kinds of uh of birds, and it doesn't really make a difference. Like with like chickens and stuff can inbreed like crazy, and like you really never see a difference.
Chickens are wild, man.
Chickens are wild. Like you can inbreed chickens like all over the place.
Anyway, this has been my digression into Bliss's need for more abortion fix.
I'm like now that like you said that, and I was like, whoa, holy shit, I did do oh no, Megaverse egg laying abortion fic. I really did that.
I did do that damn thing.
I did that damn thing. And you know what? Speaking as a as a on a personal note, I've never had an abortion. So I have no reason for having written this fic. I have no reason for any aspect of this fic at all. And you don't have to have any reason to write your fic either. So
I agree. I mean, I have reasons that I read these fics and seek them out, but that doesn't mean you have to. I hate that narrative.
yeah, like I do this because I was victimized. Like okay, but you don't have to tell me that.
Mm-hmm.
You can literally just say I do this because it exists and I put my eyeballs on it and I wanted to. Like, you know what? Fair enough. And if somebody doesn't think that's fair enough, that's a them problem.
Yeah, no,
One of
JD.
my favorite takes that I saw today, one of my favorite was it a take or it was a reply to something. It was about boundaries, right?
Mm.
You can't draw boundaries around other people. Boundaries are what behavior you will allow toward you before you choose to walk away. Boundaries are not threats of violence toward people who don't live their lives according to your moral standards. And that was by Hazel Domain on Twitter. And I really appreciate that tweet because it really encompasses like when somebody's coming after you for what you wrote or what you read or something like that, and they're like, I'm establishing boundaries, they're drawing a chalk outline of boundaries around you, not around them. And that's wrong. That's unethical.
I never really thought about it that way.
Yeah, I mean, people are saying, this is just me drawing boundaries. It's like, yes, but you're drawing boundaries around the wrong person. Your boundaries are around you. You can't draw circles around everyone else and say you're not allowed to leave this circle and live in my world.
Hmm. I'm gonna have to noodle on that, because dang, that is very relevant to my life.
Yeah.
In more than one way.
And I feel like we see that a lot, where people are like, I'm just trying to establish boundaries, and it's like, no, you're trying to limit what other people can do, not what other people can do toward you. Because you see people like telling other people who are minding their own business what they can or can't do, and they try to justify that and rationalize it by saying I'm placing boundaries. It's like, no, you're not placing boundaries. You're trying to control other people. And you're just saying I'm setting boundaries because that's an acceptable way of presenting your bad behavior.
Therapy speak was a mistake.
True.
But I think we talked about the thing. I really just wanted to talk about a couple bad internet takes.
Yeah. I think we devil's advocated enough tonight.
Mm-hmm. Do you have a happy?
I do. I have a happy. I started playing Baldur's Gate.
Ooh.
And
Do you like it?
and I really love Lazelle.
Mm-hmm.
She's a total bitch. And that is my type. And everyone loves Astarion,
Mm-hmm.
however you say his name. All the characters say his name differently. He says it Astarion. So everyone loves him. He's a total pathetic dork weasel. He's growing on me, like a little fungus man, but like he kind of reminds me of my ex-fiance's dad. So like that's kind of awkward a little bit.
It's a boner killer.
Yeah, it is. But I'm playing my player character is a rogue and he's a rogue. He's an arcane trickster rogue and I'm like a thief rogue. So like we're the dynamic is like really good, we're pretty sneaky, but I really enjoy Lazelle because you start the game with her. So but she's very I don't know. I like her just as a general rule just because she's unbelievably insecure. And like that's why she's such a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And she's definitely my girlfriend. I'm gonna fuck her. She's fantastic. And like straight up, she is in bondage wear. Like that's just her under things are just bondage wear. Like and she's gorgeous. Like I don't know. Like no one ever talks about her like she's no one ever like I didn't realize that she even like existed because no one talks about her and and as soon as I saw her I was like, "Oh, that's my girlfriend." And she's just I'm just desperately in love with her. Although if she gets weird, I might shift teams here, but I don't know, she hasn't yet. Nobody spoil it for me because if you spoil something for me, I will not play the rest of the game.
Well, I can't spoil anything for you, so
Okay,
don't worry.
good. No one in the comments spoil anything for me because I I will not play the rest of the game if you spoil something for me. So, and I paid money for this.
Actual human dollars.
I paid human dollars for this. I rarely ever play buy games when that just came out. Especially when they're a lot of memory and they make my computer run super hot. And I know that beforehand. So I really need this to not be spoiled for me.
For sure.
Yeah. Do you have a happy?
My happy is a spoiler for My Hero Academia.
Oh, okay.
So, if you've been on Twitter, you know what the spoiler is. Feel free to stick around. If you've managed not to be spoiled or choose to not want to be spoiled, I'll see you next week. But so my happy is, JD, may I spoil this for you?
You may spoil this for me.
Bakugo's back, baby!
I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I need my anger boy to be alive.
My son!
How did this come about? Cuz wasn't he like laying on the ground in a pool of his own blood or something?
He was, but then the hero Edge Shot, which is like the origami hero,
Okay.
is like, I'm gonna use my body to origami you a new heart. And then it
What?
took like a fucking year in real time for that to actually happen.
An origami heart?
Yeah, but like made out of a meat man, so it'll be a
Okay,
meat heart.
okay, but like, did he have to sacrifice his life for that?
Yes. Yeah, he was like, it's for the next generation.
Oh my god, so he just like origamied his whole body into a heart?
Yep. He just like
And
zoomed into Bakugo's body and like made a new heart.
okay, but like, is he conscious in there?
I don't know. Do
Like,
you
what
think
if,
he's
like,
like
oh,
coercing Bakugo to do things?
oh my god, like, what, like, if Bakugo, okay, like, let's say Bakugo recovers, right? And he's got this
hmm
weird man origami heart, right?
hmm
And this man origami heart is like conscious in there. Like, does his heart have a lifespan that's like a man's lifespan?
Like the lifespan of Edge Shot instead of the
Yeah,
lifespan of like a 17-year-old's.
right, right. So like, however old Edgeshot is, his heart will like, and like, what if he gets a heart transplant after? It does his heart have a face?
I don't know. It'd be really creepy if his heart had a face. If his
Oh
heart
my
had like a
god.
dead man's face.
Oh my god. And like, okay, so like theoretically, he's like a living heart, right? Right?
hmm
So he's got the blood running through him and everything and da 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 da. He's not dead in there. Ew. Oh. I mean, I understand that it's like manga and anime, so like it doesn't really have to like make any sense or anything. But like, ooh, like what are the ethical implications of this? Like what are like the like is he like going to become part of Bakugo's body so that Bakugo will then have weird origami powers?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Oh, weird. That would be so weird. I don't know. Like, oh, jeez.
No,
Oh,
there's so much theorizing already going around about Bakugo and whether or not he's gonna have some of One for All's power. And
why would that be?
because like when he's been in the dead liminal space, he's seen a vestige of All Might.
Oh,
And so it's like, oh. And like in one of the movies, Deku shared the power with him for a minute
right,
and
right.
then like transferred it back.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, and Horikoshi I guess said that movie's canon. So I guess like maybe he still has like vestiges, maybe, we'll see. Until it happens, I'm not like making bets. The only bet I was making was that Bakugo was going to come back because like come on.
Yeah, come on. You can't have a series. You can't have a series with Deku without his like bromance rival.
Mhm.
Like, 'cause that's like a huge plot point.
It is. It's a big plot point and like they're just going to kill him off.
Yeah, there's no personal storyline if you kill Bakugo.
And like I get like it would have been impactful and I'm all about stories having consequences, lasting consequences, but in manga and anime they follow, particular beats.
Yeah,
And
like Sasuke didn't die, like
Mhm.
permanently.
So yeah, he's back. My son is back. Just in time for me to get a Bakugo tattoo next month.
Big titty boy's back.
Big titty boy's back, baby!
Hell yeah.
Let's fucking go! Ugh, so that's my happy. I'm very excited about it. But yeah. Thank y'all for joining us this week. If you'd like to find us online, you can find us on Twitter, Tumblr, TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, hi, hello. Thank you for watching. Give us a like, a comment, a subscribe. Do the things that YouTube likes you to do, because it helps us. And you want to help us, right? Right?
I mean that's up to them. You know what,
You're right, I shouldn't coerce you.
yeah, like we gotta get their consent, and we can't be coercing people. It's just not, it's not kosher.
And then yeah, until next time, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
My needs are met.